Recorded live from the secret underground lair of Crimson Cowl Comics and Collectibles, this is the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast.
The following issues may contain spoilers. The Dungeon. Every castle has one, and this is ours. I'm Anthony.
I'm David.
And I'm Katie.
Welcome to issue number 276 of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club Podcast. Each and every time we record, we talk about comic books. On this episode, we won't have a club discussion. That's where we all select certain picks, and we all read them and discuss them at the same time. Upcoming releases, we have Marvel Unleashed, Alligator Loki, It's Jeff, the Jeffverse, My Little Pony, Black, White, and Blue, Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, number 9, Howard the Duck, number 1, and 'Twas the Might Before Christmas, number 1. Those are some upcoming picks, so when those issues are available, and our club members are as well, we will talk about them. On this show, we're going to kick it off the weekly reviews. That's where we go back and forth and talk about the books that we've been reading, whether they're new, whether they're old, whether they're not even released yet. We're all going to talk about them there. Then in our news segment, no more Fan Expo Chicago talk. I wrapped all that up in the last episode, so check out the last 3 episodes for my recap on Fan Expo Chicago 2023. But we are going to go into the independent comics previews catalogs for September for the products coming out in November and beyond. Listen back to the last episode to catch our Marvel and DC picks. So that is the agenda for the show. We are going to get rolling right into the weekly reviews. I was going through my stacks, cleaning some piles, and realized I don't think I actually ever talked about this. I may have talked about the experience in one form or another, but I'm here to talk about Yahgz, the Craynobi Tales, a classic refresh from the master cartoonist Art Baltazar's early years. Join Craynobi and his son Kreisky Craynobi, the future chosen one with the chosen nose, as well as their many friends and allies like Wizard, the wise wizard, and they adventure through the mythical lands to try to save the city of Yahgz and its people, the Yahgz. But are Kraby and Kreisky enough to face the giant green gorilla, or even bigger foes as they ford a river of mud or enter the land of ashes? Kraby and Kreisky will need their wits and some helpful allies to help everyone. This is written, drawn, colored, and lettered by Art Baltazar. Art started his comic publishing career with these characters, the Craybabies, now just kind of rebranded under the Yahgz, and there are some stories that he did probably over 20 some years ago that he kind of remastered and redone and added some new stuff and created kind of this new path here for his creator-owned characters, the Yahgz. This was a fun book, having read all those original stories. It's kind of cool to kind of refresh and kind of re-step into a world, into Art Baltazar's brain, one that had kicked off his comic creating career, and now coming full circle and getting to do these characters yet again under the paper cuts with the publishing here. So yeah, this was a much anticipated release. It was a huge moment in Art's life when he had gotten the official news that he got the permission and got the job to basically tell these tales once again. Art Baltazar has a very colorful style. Anytime you check out his books, you are never mistaken that it's an Art Baltazar book. The humor, the characters, the action, the pacing, it all has a very similar and welcoming feel, one that's very comforting, just knowing that you're going to get a nice adventure. You're introduced to a lot of crazy characters as you go into this book here. Even though these characters had existed, a couple decades ago, this is very much the jump on point for these stories. They do catch you up with this, the adventurer character, with Kraby and Kreisky, and all of the lore that Art has created here is all being unraveled in what is expected to be book releases. So this one does really kick off part of a hopeful trilogy. But yeah, it kind of introduces a really fun world. There's something in here that I'm looking to see if I could show a teaser image. Although it is shown right there on the title page, I still want to leave that for anybody who wants to see it. But there is going to be a better version I can show off. All of Art's creator-owned characters and worlds usually have a small thread of connectivity. And while he has the Oh Yeah Comics universe and all that stuff, you would read this one and think like, all right, maybe there isn't anything here. Maybe there isn't, this is its own separate thing. But there is a very familiar character that hangs out in the Oh Yeah Comics universe, a character that is one of my favorites. And I wish I could find the partial image I want to show to tease, because it is the first time you see the full body of this character. The character known as the Guji Nana. Now, the Guji Nana is a hard character to find out in the wild, and so it makes sense that for some reason I just cannot find the Guji Nana. Maybe it jumped out of the book since I last read it. But there is an image here that I really wish I had, because now it's just getting too old as I'm trying to drag this on. This book has adventure, it has gorillas, it has all these made-up characters. It's just a lot of cutesy fun. I'll show the wee Kiwi. How about the wee Kiwi there? That's a fun character that Art has that's introduced into these adventures. But yeah, oh yeah, here we go. This is what I wanted to show. So the Guji Nana up here, this is how we normally see the Guji Nana up, usually peeking out of bushes and such. But this is the first time that you actually see the full body of this character that his daughter created when she was just a wee child herself. And so normally you see the Guji Nana popping out of the bushes in Oh Yeah Comics, just in little background scenes. But as you get this book, I don't want to give that away, but you see the full design of what this character, this very mysterious character looks like. And that was pretty exciting. So Guji Nana, pretty much, it means a lot to me. That character means a lot to me. So it feels awesome to have that character, kind of the origins being kind of thrown into this Yahgz world. So that's all I can really say about that. It's a weird world to try to describe. These crays, as they call them, are basically just on the journey to try to find some orbs and some artifacts and just battling bad guys. There's many different villains and a lot of crazy stuff going on here, but it's a hard book to describe, and it's much better for you to pick it up for a nice purchase in a paperback as well as a hardcover out there. So yeah, that's all I can really say without spoiling any of the story. But that is Yahgz, the Craynobi Tales from Paper Cuts and Art Baltazar. Oh yeah. All right. Speaking of comics that was a comic that has actually come out back in the month of August. We're in September at the time of this recording. But David has a comic that isn't available to the rest of us wee folk here, that is shopping off of comic book shelves and ordering off of Amazon and all Midtown Comics, DCBS, wherever you get your comic books. David somehow has grabbed a review from the future. What you got?
Ooh.
Yes, because I'm fortunate enough to still have the connections that I had from having Crimson Cowl Comics collectibles. And part of that is a lot of publishers will still send us promotional materials and things like that for upcoming comics. Skybound has been really good about sending retailer preview issues to stuff. So I thought I'd do something a little different today and talk about a couple of them that I know the club has some interest in it. I'm not going to go too in depth on either of these. I'll talk about one now and one a little bit later. That way, when the general masses get to read these and somebody else wants to talk about it a little bit more detailed, they can do that. So the first one that I'm going to discuss is Transformers #1. Now, this is something that I know just in the creative name alone, the creator name alone. We have Daniel Warren Johnson, who's been mentioned a couple of times here at the club. I think maybe we've read a couple of things. Who knows? Maybe a few of us have even met the guy.
He's in our video intro every time on YouTube, so
he is. He is.
He doesn't know that, but he is.
So, I mean, if you have no history of Transformers before, I will say that this is giving you sort of a, I mean, it's for sure a jump on point. If you're a fan of G1 Transformers, this is up there because it's kind of giving you that, and it's got that feel. The characters, the character designs that they went with, and things like that, which you can see in some of the promotional materials that, of course, are available for people to see. The previews, catalogs, and things like this. Now, this doesn't come out for sale until October 4th, so that's not that far away. I advise, if you haven't already pre-ordered it, you might want to reserve a copy at your local comic book store, or if they don't have enough coming or whatever, for some reason they didn't order them, then you probably want to have them put in a reorder for it. I was really happy with it, and I was a little unsure because I am a huge, especially Transformers, the Generation 1, big fan of that, comics, cartoon, stuff like that. So I thought that this might be something that's like rehashing a little too much, or just, it's just not my thing or whatever. It's just so different that I wasn't going to enjoy it. And I will say, not pleasantly surprised, because I wasn't surprised. I really did expect that there would be some good quality here, but I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed what it's doing. It's a first issue, so you're just starting to get into it, but they do have some action in here. It's it's not the kiddie version of the Transformers. There may be some death and a little bit more violence to it than what you'd find on an after school cartoon or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's very well done. The art looks great. If you're a fan of Daniel Warren Johnson, he's got a different art style, to some of his stuff. But it's, I mean, it actually works really well with this. Because you can see his style, but you also see the Transformers, and they look the way that you expect for them to look in comic book form. So it's great. There's definitely some recognizable characters, both Cybertronian and human. So that'll be fun, but it's clear that this is going to be a little bit different of a take on some of these characters. So it feels like Transformers, but it also feels like, okay, this is different. This is something different is happening here. It's definitely like an alternative take on this. But I thought it was great. I really enjoyed this comic, and so I'm excited to read more of this.
Yeah, I know I have that pre-ordered. Daniel Warren Johnson is definitely the reason why I did that. I know he's super passionate about the characters, and if you'd ever watch any of his YouTube drawing videos, like years before he would even, get this gig, back to even when he couldn't talk about it, but he's just always talking about Transformers and showing it off and drawing, Transformer sketches and commissions and things like that. And if it wasn't him on the book, that's not a title I'm normally drawn to. The Void Rivals book, which I picked up because of Kirkman, was a a backdoor, surprise to being a Transformers universe book, and I was very pleasantly surprised when that happened. But yeah, having him on there, I'm definitely excited to check it out just because he's getting basically to do a dream job in that with those characters.
And thank you, because you brought up Void Rivals. That was a book where I think a lot of people, when it first was advertised, didn't know exactly what that was going to be. I mean, because it doesn't say, Transformers on it. It doesn't say G.I. Joe on it. But it's a book that is very much in like this new Hasbro universe. Yeah, the Energon universe, as they're calling it. It's part of that, and we were introduced even to the Transformers in the Energon universe through Void Rivals. However, and this is important to the people that don't want to have to buy a bunch of different books, I had not read Void Rivals. It was completely unnecessary to have done so in order to read this. There is something that if you read it, you'll go, oh yeah, okay, but it's not necessary. It's it's a little extra bonus if you have, so it does connect, but it's not connected in a way where one doesn't make sense without the other.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, that is Transformers #1. Most likely we'll be talking about that again in full review when that comes out. And yeah,
and I'll get to read it, in physical form too, and really enjoy it that way too, which is my preferred way to do it. But because I am getting like a physical copy, then it'll be nice to revisit this with some people who have also read it. And while it's not a club pick, it's always nice to have other people in the discussion that have read the same book and are familiar with it.
Totally. And it's not against the rules that we've had it before, where also we realize, hey, we have 3 people talking about this book that we didn't predetermine to be a club pick, so that could always be ushered in. So yeah, okay.
And I would have loved to have shown some samples of some of the artwork and everything, but I am going to stick to it. They ask you to not share this and whatever, so I'm sticking with that. I'm not going to show images that aren't meant to be seen by the masses quite yet, but I am excited for other people to be able to read this and to be able to check it out.
Cool. All right, we're going to jump over to Katie. What'd you bring to the table here?
All right, this week I have, it's getting eaten by my background. I have Komi Can't Communicate Volumes 5. It's by Tomohito Oda. I actually have to credit my brother for getting me into this. There is a Komi manga on Netflix that he really likes and was like, you should watch this. That would mean a lot to me if you watched it. And I did, and it's actually pretty cute. So Komi Can't Communicate is a slice of life manga. The main character's name is Shoko Komi, and she is a high school girl who has a communications disorder and pretty severe social anxiety, to the point that she cannot speak around other people and has to either text them with her flip phone or write it out on a notepad of paper to say what she's thinking. Now, the kind of twist to this is that Komi is very pretty, and high schoolers, they are always like wanting to be like with the pretty and popular girl and like make friends with her. And a lot of the humor comes from everyone wants to be friends with Komi and nominate Komi for class president, but Komi herself actually doesn't really want that. So her friends Tadano and Najimi are always like kind of like stepping in to run interference for her. And interestingly, so let's just jump into the plot. That's kind of the background. Komi's goal in high school is to make 100 friends. So far her friends are Tadano, who's the boy who sits next to her, and they're kind of like setting up as they have crushes on each other. Najimi, who uses both male and female pronouns, and in the book their gender is not defined. I see them as non-binary, but that's open to interpretation, of course. And then Agari, who is another one of Komi's friends. She's a girl, and she really loves reviewing food on the internet. And Yamai, who is also a girl, but is kind of like unhealthily obsessed with Komi. So she's always like showing up where Komi is and trying to learn boundaries and such. So in volume 5, kind of the two big plots are that the kids all decide that they want to go to a new ramen shop together. And I mentioned Agari likes to write reviews. So they pick this place that, kind of looks a little run down, doesn't have a lot of customers or anything. But Agari's like, no, I have a good feeling about this. We should try it. And the kids end up really, really enjoying it. And the waitress thinks that Komi is the one who's writing these reviews, like basically like Yelp reviews. So she's giving like really good service to Komi and Najimi, but then Tadano and Agari are sitting on the other side of the table, and she keeps like forgetting them and ignoring their orders. And they have to remind her. But at the end of the book, or the end of the story, we get to see Agari's review, and she posts a really good review of them. And let's see, she then gets them a lot of business and was pretty cute and wholesome. Komi really, even though she can't speak or verbalize it, she really does enjoy being included with her friends, which I actually think is a really good reminder that not everyone will express their enthusiasm in the same way, but we should still make an effort to try and understand them and welcome them. And then the other plot is the kids are doing a class project, and they want to put on a class maid cafe. I had to Google what a maid cafe is to make sure that it wasn't inappropriate. It's basically like dinner theater where the servers dress up as maids or page boys and address the customers as master or princess, and like do this whole like theatrical role thing. And it's pretty funny and kind of cute. Komi agrees that she wants to do the maid cafe, and then the whole rest of the book is them setting up for this school project. They're going to the store to buy supplies. And she's trying to make more friends with her classmates, and she wants to shop with them, but she's a little bit nervous about it. And then we get to see them in their maid outfits that, don't worry, well, at least Komi's is ankle length. But the ones who are wearing shorter skirts are wearing tights. Anyway, they get to the maid cafe. Their project is the most successful out of all of the school projects. Their grade wins. Najimi kind of cheated in trying to make more money with their fake money. So Najimi ended up getting disqualified, but their maid cafe was a wonderful success. Komi's mom came and showed up, which was super cute. Komi's mom looks just like Komi, but she's the polar opposite in personality. So she's very outgoing, very over the top, just like totally silly and goofy, doesn't really care about how she's perceived. Anyway, super fun. This has kind of been my calm down like novel, like before bed, just because it's not too deep in terms of plot or having to like figure out like the characters' motivations. It's just very like cheerful and wholesome and relaxing. Same thing with the anime. And another thing I like is you don't necessarily have to read them in order to understand them. So if you're like, yeah, I only have time for a few episodes tonight, I'm just going to watch like episodes 4 and 7 because I like them, you won't miss anything. It's still pretty easy to follow. I'm actually really enjoying it. My next review is also going to be a Komi book, but that is Komi Can't Communicate Volume 5 by Tomohito Oda. Check it out.
Yeah, now I gotta look because I think I might actually have one of those books.
Oh,
I'm not sure which one. So
all right. The next one I'm talking about is a sequel to a book that I probably talked about maybe last year, maybe early this year. But this is Bigfoot and Nessie, The Haunting of Loch Ness Castle. Bigfoot and Nessie are visiting Nessie's home, the underwater Loch Ness Castle, and Bigfoot couldn't be more excited. The castle is huge, lavish, and seems like Nessie has everything she could possibly want. Only things are not exactly what they seem. Nessie can't get away from her overbearing momager, and endling... momager. I thought it said manager when I copied and pasted, so that was me in real time realizing it says momager. And endless celebrity duties, and to make matters worse, there's a ghost roaming around in the house. Can Bigfoot and Nessie confront the ghost, stand up to Nessie's mom, and uncover the castle's haunting secrets? This is a book by Chelsea M. Campbell and Laura Netzer. Netzer, I believe. Okay, so I picked volume one up some time ago because it was Bigfoot and Nessie. I think it was like The Art of Being Noticed or something like that, I think is the first one. They may actually have that plugged in the back there. But it was a very hilarious setup in the fact that Bigfoot, this Bigfoot character is in the Bigfoot families. They're all big feet, if you will. And the youngest one, I think it's just called, I forget, they don't address it here, but it might be like Little Bigfoot, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But Bigfoot is struggling to get noticed. Like, everyone's always trying to find, being like, oh, I found Bigfoot, or we caught a photo of him, and this or that. In that first book, this little Bigfoot character just couldn't figure out how to get humans to notice him. He would be trying to scare him during a picnic and jump out, but would, it'd be like a pratfall thing and just, fall out of frame or something, and the humans wouldn't see him. And then Bigfoot meets Nessie in that first book. Nessie is the one that is basically riding off of the celebrity fame and wants to get away from the Loch Ness and go on a vacation. And that's how Loch Ness Monster, Nessie, and Bigfoot meet. In the second book, we pick up where we left off in the fact that they're friends and they're basically going back to Loch Ness's castle. And this is where the adventure takes place. It's an underwater castle. Bigfoot has a lot of questions about whether or not Bigfoot can breathe underwater, but once they get under and into the space, there's a funny throwaway joke about it, just being like, let's see here. Oh yeah, there's a line somewhere along the fact that, like, oh yeah, well, you can, because it's just how we just breathe. That's just how it is. So there's really like no science explained. It's just kind of be like, yeah, you'll be able to breathe because that's just what happens. And but Bigfoot and Nessie are hanging around, and what they do, they have a very adventurous castle, because when you go from room to room, floor to floor, it's like going through magical doors as they enter all of these kind of like little fantasy lands, basically. So that was one where they're basically on a pirate ship. There's another one where they're on the beach, and they're just kind of going through all of these different locations. Bigfoot's a little unsettled because their place seems a little creepy. There's a couple spiders that pop up throughout the story that Bigfoot is kind of freaked out about. They're very nice spiders. They're just kind of tapping on Bigfoot's shoulder from time to time. They're begging for his dinner, the lunch, which is haggis and kidney pies that they're making. So it's funny to see the little spiders basically being like, "Oh, we'll take some of that." Bigfoot's not really, not really wanting to eat that, but the spiders are having a blast. And so there's just kind of like fun and adventure going through as they're exploring this castle. But the real journey begins is when they see a ghost, and we do see the ghost on the opening page. So I will show that reveal in here. So this ghost character, kind of like a sea ghost type of thing going on here. This ghost pops up and is scaring Nessie and Bigfoot, but you get the impression that the ghost isn't purposely scaring, that they're just organically scared because, hey, there's a ghost. Even though we're a Bigfoot and a Loch Ness monster, we're still scared of this other thing that that isn't us. And the whole story is basically them trying to locate an item that is going to cast away the ghost. I'm not going to go into any more details than that. This is a fun, I don't know what they would call this, if it's like ages 6 to 9. Wasn't sure, I say it's an all ages thing because I just enjoyed the heck out of this book, and that first one was awesome enough for me to pick up the second one, and I hope they do more because I just love that idea. Like I said, The Art of Being Noticed, I think, was the subtitle for that first one, and I remember in the previews episode on this very show and just reading that and laughing, being like, all right, you got my money. So this is just very adorable, fun for all ages, very cute book, and some lessons along the way. I didn't talk about the momager stuff too much, but Nessie's mom, because the Loch Ness monsters are part of celebrity fame. There's actually a topic of divorce that goes into this book, which is, makes it kind of serious, but I think it's treated pretty real and stuff for anybody who is reading this to kind of, understand what that means and what kids can go through if they're children of divorce. So yeah, there are some surprising themes that kind of jump in there, and then overall kind of testing the idea of this mother-daughter relationship between the Loch Ness monsters and Nessie not really appreciating what her mom, how she's being treated, basically all the decisions that's being made for her, being like, well, we have this big movie premiere because we're celebrities, so we're invited to the red carpet and all that stuff. So here's your dress. This is what you're wearing. But like, Mom, this isn't what I want to wear. And being like, well, yeah, this is what you're wearing. It's just no ifs, ands, or buts. So there are some, while it is a very funny concept book, there are some very important themes that are thrown throughout this book here. So, all right, that's all I'm going to say on that. It's super fun. I hope there's more. This is Bigfoot and Nessie, The Haunting of Loch Ness Castle. All right. Now, David, you once again just dipped into the future, dipped into maybe a spooky month once again. I assume this one, I forget if this one comes out. You'll tell us, but what's your next book here?
Well, this one, we're on theme of monsters. Well, this one is a book that doesn't suck. Yeah. And also doesn't come out until October 25th. So just in time for Halloween. It is Skybound's Universal Monsters Dracula #1. Now this, I wasn't sure, who's not a fan of Dracula, right? But this one, I wasn't sure. It's like, it's Universal Monsters. Is this going to be something that is, is it just going to be the Universal version of Dracula, but in comic book form? Now, if you've seen the artwork for this, it's been posted in previews and stuff like that. Especially the main issue of it, because there are other versions of it. For example, there is I'm trying to remember who did this other cover version of it. There's one that looks a lot more like Bela Lugosi like than the main cover. The main cover is a better example of what the artwork is like in the book, though. And I think for me, that's what kind of threw me off of this. Is I can't say I'm a huge fan of the style that they went with in this, but I completely understand them wanting to do something that's a little bit different, because in a lot of ways it really is. It's a retelling of Dracula, so many people are familiar with it. They've read Dracula, they've watched Dracula. Dracula's all over the place, so we're getting Dracula once again. They have to find a way to do something where it's different, that people are still going to be interested in reading it and looking at it. And so I think one of those was the style that they chose to do this in order to make it, a little bit different. And this is done by James Tynion IV, which that's another name that has popped up many times here at the club, and Martin Simmons, who I'm less familiar with.
He's Spawn, right? He's Spawn, right? Isn't his name Simmons or something? Spawn.
I think that's Al Simmons.
This
is Al Simmons. Simmonds. So like Sim and almonds.
Yeah, there we go. Cinnamon almonds.
Yeah. Yes.
Cinnamon. Anyways.
But like I said, it's very much what you would normally expect from Dracula. It's in this other art style, so if you're familiar with the main cover, that's kind of what you're getting in the art of the book. Um, there's a lot of things going on here in the style of it that you kind of watch, and you're like, there's things that are happening visually that aren't really happening, and so that's kind of um, that's kind of weird, I guess. But I think they're kind of illustrating some things about the characters, um, and they're just taking this different artistic approach on it. So I think if you are a true Dracula fan, this is something that won't disappoint you. Again, for me, the only turnoff is the art style, and that is just a personal preference. Um, but I do think that it works in a story like this. Um, it's there's some images that I think look very well done, and then there's other ones where it's like, for me, it's like, that's again not really my thing, but it's really the understanding of why it was done. I mean, some of the images in it are very not lifelike though you look at it and go, oh, is that a photo? But it's more lifelike than some of the others that are really out there. There are some art choices that they do in here, some cool things that I did like. So while the style itself isn't my cup of tea, there are some things that I looked at it and like, oh, that's a cool image, something that they threw in there. And again, I'm not going to go more into it than that, other than to say it's really what you would expect and yet different. So much like what they're doing with Transformers, where you're getting what you expect and yet there are still some surprises.
There you go. Yeah, that one's on my list as well. I definitely know Kirby's getting that, and so yeah, that one will most likely be brought to the table as well. And because you brought Dracula here as an early advanced review, it was nearby me, so I was going to do a Crimson Cowl exclusive. So for the month of October, I've been kind of drawing a lot of monster-related stuff for my art accounts that I was going to try to post one a day, and I'm going through the Universal Monster movies and some other things. And this hasn't been posted yet. It's not going to be posted until October 1st. Not even going to be on Cartoonist by Night as an exclusive. So it's exclusive to the Crimson Cowl Comic Club YouTube video. So if you are listening to this on iTunes, oh, you are missing out. So here was my take on Dracula and an upcoming drawing post here. And I went with Robert De Niro for some reason. I went as my guide for sort of a likeness. You can sort of see it in there, and I just wanted to, rather than just drawing a screen cap or something. So yeah, because you brought Dracula early, I'm going to show this early as well. So there we go. I showed too much of it. My lawyers are just going to be all over me here. So
again, a classic Dracula with a little bit of an artistic difference in there.
Yeah.
One thing that I do want to add actually about both of the books that I talked about is page count. Now I can't just look and I got it in like a PDF format, and some of these, if it was like 2 pages, like a full spread, on the PDF format, it's just counted as 1 page. And then Dracula, they also added on an extra cover. So when you subtract the covers and whatever, they're still larger than your typical 22 page, which I think is the average comic page length is 22 comics longer, but 22 pages of story, and then you get your ads in here. This is nice because I didn't have the ads included in it, and they're still including covers and alternate covers, doubling up on a couple of them because there's a couple different spreads in Dracula. The PDF is still 24 pages long, and Transformers is 31 pages. And Transformers all you had is the main cover, and the rest is actually story. So Transformers, you're getting 30 pages of story in there.
There you go. Good. All right. In something that probably has more than 30 pages of story, I would assume, is Katie's next pick here.
Yes, it does. Currently, they're in the 20s with the volumes. So I have Komi Can't Communicate Volume 6. This is also by Tomohito Oda and is picking off right where we left off at the end of the last book. So after the smashing success of the Maid Cafe School project, the kids decide that they want to celebrate by going out to do karaoke, which is pretty fun. And everyone's having a good time. They are all picking songs kind of like related to their characters. A character who shows up quite a bit in this book is a girl called Naka Naka, and she would fit in right with the comic book club. She is an otaku, weeb. She loves like fantasy sci-fi stuff. Just a real nerd. She's probably be someone that we would like. She sings an anime theme song opener, which just made me laugh because that just seems like something that I would do. There's a story there another time. And then Komi is, enjoying herself because she wants to try karaoke, and she's like playing a little tambourine, shaking some maracas, like clapping along. And then when it's her turn to sing a song, she gets like one note out and that's all she can do. But everyone goes nuts and is super excited for her. And Yamai, the girl who's obsessed with Komi, is like, well, it's only audible to the pure of heart. I can hear it in my mind and my soul. She's a character, but they all had a lot of fun and it was really good. And for Komi, it's good progress. I appreciated that. Then the next story, we see Komi and her dad go shopping. So being in high school and speaking from experience as a former high schooler, you always want to have like new clothes or outfits that are stylish, especially that like the popular girls are wearing it. You can't be wearing the clothes that you wore in middle school. So Komi needs to get some new winter clothes. Her and her dad go to the mall, and like Komi, her dad doesn't really speak. He can't speak, he just doesn't. So there's a couple awkward and humorous moments where she doesn't want to be seen in the girls' clothing store with her dad. And she sees a couple people from school and she's like, hiding kind of behind the pillars so that nobody sees her in her old dorky middle school sweater. So then she has some fun picking out her outfits. And then her dad is finding some outfits, but Komi doesn't like them and she doesn't think they're very stylish or, age appropriate. And then him being a goofball ends up getting like a trench coat and a fedora and dark sunglasses and a tie and a jacket and looking just like really fancy and totally out of place. It seems like a little bit to kind of tease his daughter a little bit, and they have some good father-daughter shopping moments. And then of course dad's credit card comes to save the day. So that was pretty funny. And then my favorite story from this issue is Komi wants to go to a cat cafe. She saw it on TV and she wants to go with her friends. So the girls all go to the school, and it's super sweet and cute. First, none of the cats are coming by Komi. They're not really interested in playing with her. And then kind of the top cat, if you will, the dominant cat who, he doesn't bother with just anyone, is interested in Komi and decides to come and visit by her, and is the only cat that comes and plays with her, but is a real snuggle love bug. And now Komi is now friends with Chocolat, the cat from the cat cafe, which is so sweet. I like cats. I like dogs too, but I like cats. And then at the end of the book, we get to see Komi has kind of an address book with all of her friends' names and numbers as she learns them. And we see that Chocolat has also given their paw print to sign her friendship book, which is really touching and sweet. I liked this one a lot. I've read 1 through 6 now. I have 7. So far, what I've seen, it fought pretty well. I've really been enjoying this. It's fun, and the characters' kind of growth and progression is exciting, and I'm happy for them. And it's just really cute. I would say like I would probably feel safe giving this to someone like 12 and up. maybe even a little younger, depending on your child. There's a couple instances where the humor gets a little like blue, but personally, I didn't find it all that offensive. So that's just up to the individual. But I really enjoyed it. So Komi Can't Communicate is published by Shonen Manga, especially specifically the Shonen Sunday edition, and it is written and drawn by Tomohito Oda. I really recommend these. I am learning about the manga world. I'm not an expert, and these are very accessible. I liked them quite a bit, and I think you would enjoy them too. So that's my review of Komi Can't Communicate, Volume 6. Check it out.
And I slipped away because I wanted to look to see which one I had sitting here, just in case you needed one or whatever. I wanted to see. But as it turns out, it does appear that is one of the books that I recently sold at in Milwaukee.
No worries.
And I remember who I sold it to, so I'm glad that you mentioned the age, because there was a girl that got these, and her dad was there, and the dad did look through them because he wanted to make sure that these they bought probably about 4 or so manga books, and he did want to just make sure that they were appropriate for his daughter.
Totally.
And I believe that was one that they had picked up, so it's good that it is age appropriate.
Awesome. Well, I hope they enjoy it, and thank you for checking. Yeah.
Cool. If you go back to last week's episode, I was wrapping up my Fan Expo Chicago 2023, and I saved the creator Agnes Garbowska as my last review. She was the one that I was most excited to see in the on the guest list. And I talked about You, Me, and Zombie, which is a hardcover, kind of like a little snippet from her webcomic that I saw on her table. And I did some research, and I found out how to get more of her webcomics in printed form. So that's what I'm bringing to the table here. She is from Poland, and I did the research, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this right, but I believe this is Mymisiu Gazette, Volume 1. This is a collection of webcomics created, written, and drawn by Agnes Garbowska. You, Me, and Zombie, one of the 3 stories. Olive and her little dog Otis are on an adventure to solve the mystery that's taken over their town. Zombies roam the streets, and it's up to her and Otis to find a cure. This is something I talked about last week in the hardcover form. I did get a different story in this paperback edition here, so it was good. This is basically what I think is the origin of this little girl and her dog realizing that there is a zombie apocalypse outside, or what they just refer to as a zombie apocalypse. And I was going to get some of those images. I'll save that one for a different one. But yeah, let me get to a different teaser image here. But yeah, you do see the break-in. You see the style there. Agnes has a real like adorable, she, like I mentioned, she did My Little Pony comics and DC Superhero Girl stuff, and so her style is super cute and adorable. And when you mix it in with a zombie apocalypse, I think it's just a nice blend there, and it's cool to see that kind of the ages of the characters that are being drawn and the style when you mix it with a horror element. And while there is hilarity and stuff like that, it is taken very seriously. Here's another good shot of her and her dog running away. One bonus thing that I don't know if I either missed it or wasn't in there, but we found out in the extras that Otis and Olive, our lead characters in this book here, are the dogs of Agnes. So she actually turned one of the dogs into a human character to play the human role, but left the other dog there, as we've seen, represented. So that was a fun little thing to see there, that her dogs there were thrown into as characters for Yumi and Zombie. The second story in this here is Waking Up Abby. What would you do if you woke up each morning with a new ability? Abby is finding out. One morning she was normal, and the next she was anything but. This is a cool concept for a story. This is volume 1. I'm not sure how many of these, when you do a web comic and then you do a print of it, I assume that, maybe it's not going to be completed fully. This is done over 10 years ago, so with the success of the things that she's known for, possibly overrode this. I don't know the history of her webcomics, but I'm definitely going to research to see if I can get more paperbacks or find where actively I could purchase or read it online wherever they have it. But Waking Up Abby is a really cool concept of story where this girl wakes up and she realizes that it's like a Spider-Man situation when we've seen in the first Tobey Maguire movie, where everything is sticking to this character here, and the pillow, the curtains, even the neighborhood cat ends up sticking to her. I was going to get that image here. Oh yeah, she gets to school and realizes that a neighborhood cat is under her armpit of her shirt there. So that was a nice surprise, but she has no idea what's going on here. Everything, her friend comes and greets her. So then her friend's hand gets stuck into her hair there and everything. And it's an interesting concept, but then the rest of the story develops when she's like, you know what, maybe if I go to bed, I'll wake up and everything will be okay again, whether it was a dream or a freak accident. But when she wakes up the next day, she has completely different abilities, as now she appears to have monkey abilities. She's got monkey ears and a monkey tail, and that leads, coincidentally, another run-in with that neighborhood cat. I'll leave that for anyone that has wanted to check it out, but the concept I thought was really cool of just, as far as I know, the sticky abilities didn't carry over. I only know these 2 days because then it kind of ends there. But I love that idea of just every day is a complete mystery and a new ability. So I definitely want to track down more of that. And then the third part of this Gazette here is Imagination Station. Allie, Lily, and Sam look at the world around them a little differently. They take their boring school days and turn them into an exciting outer space adventure. This is a simple story about kids with very imaginative minds. We start off with the story seeing a very kind of different style that we would come to know from the previous things I highlighted from Agnes. And but then you jump into and realize that this out of space adventure is actually them just playing in the leaves in the yard, and it's a bunch of kids, just having pretend adventures. And we see, even though the styles, you just see a different color palette. Obviously, you're jumping into space and everything like that, but the story does switch back and forth between the kids basically like on a playground and then in their own made up fantasy world. I'll show this other cool thing here because I had a pretty good laugh. There is a moment where they kind of come across this like giant like skeleton dressed monster of some sort. They're still kind of like in a wooded area here, but it's they're kind of wondering what's going to happen here as this thing is approaching, and then they just realize that it's just kind of one of the older kids that's in the neighborhood or at school, or it's Eric, our resident Punisher fan as a child there. But yeah, that was kind of funny just seeing like the skeleton monster thing come, and then this this bull. No, I don't know if he's a bully. He's not doing anything other than just showing up. They're scared of him, but he's just like, oh, those girls are weird because they just ran off, ran away from him. But yeah, it was just fun just to kind of go back between adventure. Here's another awesome page I'll show off here, just showing the monster attacks in their fantasy world and stuff. So as far as I know, it is a make believe thing. Maybe further chapters going deeper and whatever. I don't know anything about it, but one thing that was cool in the back of this, what I assume is a self-published Mymisiu Gazette Volume 1, is that on the last page, there is just simply a sketch page, written sketch. I assume whether if it's, getting to meet her in person. Now that I purchased this outside of her table, I don't recall if this was on her table anywhere. This is something I scooped up from an Amazon seller. But yeah, this, if she's ever at a convention that I'm at again, I think I'll have to bring this up, and it might be one of those things being like, oh wow, it's a blast from the past, and have her do a sketch in there. Oh yeah, there's that, and then there are extra blank pages too, but they're not labeled for sketch, so I was just curious what that was. Anyways, that was a cool little collection there. Once again, I'm going to continue to do research to see where I can follow these individual adventures, all what I assume are completely unconnected webcomics, all done, written, drawn, created by Agnes Garboska. So, yep, that was an awesome find, and I'm going to continue going through her back catalog.
Yeah, and it was interesting to find out that two of the characters are based on her dogs. What you didn't find out after reading Waking Up Abby is that Abby is actually my cat.
Oh, there we go. Okay,
so it's
based off of the pet monkey or something, but
yeah.
And then, does anybody have a pet named Allie, Lily, or Sam? Anybody in the club here? Any Allies, Lilies, or Sams? No.
None of those. Probably some of our viewers or listeners.
Yeah, there we go.
Somebody does.
Yes. We're bound to find some Allies, Lilies, or Sams in pet form. All right, that is going to do it for the weekly reviews. This will be just a little advertisement, quick, because I think we'll talk about this in a different episode when Kirby is here, because I know this is in his pull list. But our friend of the club here, and my co-creator friend of Cartoonist by Night, Troy Dungara, has a brand new issue of Kid Slapshot that is now officially out on the stands. This is the Kid Slapshot versus the Lunatic. I talked about it on the show where I always want to say like lunatic, but just simply lunatic, but there is a hyphen in there, so my brain can't register that yet. But this is another the latest adventure of Kid Slapshot. I think we had one in maybe the early of the year, maybe in spring. So we'll talk about this in a later review. I was going to save this along with Happy Astronaut #1 to kind of just do a double dose of some Keen Spot goodness. But the other thing I was going to highlight, because once we bring it up on the club, it's not on the last page, which I would assume, so I have to find it here. But myself and Kirby have fan art in this issue. I know Kirby has been featured in some in the shots off the crossbar, the fan art and letters section that Troy sets up here. And I won't show off Kirby's just for the sake of him not being here at this episode, and I'd much rather go through that journey with him. And I showed this in poster form because I got the permission to make a print of it. But here was actually, this is when I first debuted on Crimson Cowl Comic Club in January or early February, when we had Troy first on our show. And I did that fan art for him and revealed it on the episode. And then I made a print of it. And but yeah, now it's printed in fan art in his Slapshot comic. So I just wanted to give a shout out to that. So both Happy Astronaut #1 and this latest Kid Slapshot are both out there from Keen Spot. We got some more Keen Spot goodness to talk about in our next segment. We'll get to that eventually. But yeah, we will return to the club with future reviews once Kirby is here, because that way we can talk about that book there. Okay, that is going to do it then for the weekly reviews. We have one more segment, so let's jump over to a pre-recorded David with the news.
And now the news.
All right, welcome to part 2 of our previews preview. Go back to our previous episode to check out the Marvel and DC picks in the September catalogs for products coming out in November and beyond. Now we are jumping into the giant independent previews catalog here. No matter what side you start with, that's the one we're talking about. We're going through the independent publishers and the merchandise and the collectibles and the apparels. So we can just jump wherever we want. The first one I wanted to highlight is actually from a past guest on our show. It feels good we can say that multiple times when we talk about creators now. Winston Gambro, we have an entire episode about Haunted House, a Love Story, issue #1. And this is from Blood Moon Comics, LLC. A tale of loss, horror, and overcoming grief. A sentient house falls in love when its architect and sale occupant, with its architect and sale occupant. But soon, The architect falls for someone else, and the house seeks vengeance. We had a spoiler-free review of issue number 1 and the creative process with Winston Gambro, so you can go back in the feed and check that out. It's I believe, a 6-issue miniseries, I think, is what he said it was, and he said it's all done, so it's going to be expected to come out on time. But yeah, issue number 1 is in this catalog, so get your orders in there for A Haunted House. It's in the corner of, there we go. Haunted House, a love story. All right, David, did you have anything to recommend from the previous catalog?
No, my only recommendation, as always, is if you see something in the previous catalog and you want it, order it.
There you go. That's a great recommendation. Thank you. Let's jump over to Katie. What you got for us?
Sure, at Boom, we have another Berserker one-shot, Berserker Fallen Empire. This retails at $9.99. And if you want to know more about Berserker, check out our previous issues where we go in depth on the main series and more recently the one-shot Poetry of Madness. Check it out.
Cool. Another surprise Winston Gambro connection, which I just learned today on Instagram from Oni Press. I'm talking about, I believe it's not Jonah, but it's probably Jonah and the Impossible Monsters Deluxe Edition hardcover. This is from Chris Samney and Laura Samney. Now, I didn't mention Winston Gambro in those creative teams at all, but he revealed that he was actually the designer of this deluxe hardcover edition. So, however this is all put together and organized for this deluxe edition, Winston can now officially say that he was the designer for it. And that was a pleasant surprise. This was something that was already on my list. I either talked about a free comic book day issue or read issue 1 when it had come out, and it was one of those where I just, didn't get around to getting the other ones, but I knew right away, knowing it was a 12-issue series, being like, yeah, that issue 1 was so good. I have very much confidence that I'm going to enjoy this story. So I waited, and I knew there was going to be a hardcover down the road eventually, and here it is. So yeah, this is a deluxe hardcover edition of Jonah and the Impossible Monsters. Yeah, I'm excited to check that one out. I know our friends over at the Comic Book Couples Counseling Podcast, Lisa and Brad, have had the creators, Chris and Laura Samney, who are probably characters in their own right. They have an awesome friendship with them, and they've talked about this comic in depth. So if you need any more inspiration or any more selling point, you can always go into their back catalog on their Comic Book Couples Counseling Podcast for some awesome insight on Jonah. So, all right, jump back over to Katie.
Sure. So I have a comic from the Charmed TV show universe. It is by Katie Rex and Jonathan Lau, and it is about a young girl named Delia who is blossoming into her uncontrollable supernatural powers, accidentally unleashes them at school, and then she draws the attention of Phoebe, Piper, and Paige, who are 3 witches with experience managing innate abilities. And with their help, she's able to build a new life for herself. This is going to be $13, and it comes out on October 18th. Check it out.
Excellent. This one I was very excited to see back in the catalog. It is over at Dark Horse Comics. Quick Stops, Volume 2, Number 1, the Kevin Smith View Askew Universe series of comics that he's come out with. And the Quick Stops are all these kind of like anthology issues. They had 4 of them, and I think there's a trade paperback out there now that just they were all written by Kevin Smith and various artists work on it. And basically telling stories about the characters like in between all of his movies that he's done from the 90s until the present, from Clerks to Clerks 3 basically, and they're so good. I talked about them being like they definitely feel like you have to have knowledge of the movies in the universe, like those ones. While we always try to recommend being like, oh, this would be a good jump on point for something, but this is what feels strictly for the diehard Kevin Smith movie fans. They are so good, and I'm so happy that they were received well, enough that they were going to do another volume here. So Quick Stops Volume 2, Number 1, Kevin Smith and his Secret Stash Press bring you seedy, sexy, sensational origin of the Eskuniverse scared cow, Mooby, the golden calf. So learn the utter truth, that's UDDER, about an American icon when a young podcaster tries to milk movie creator Nancy Goldruff for the bovine's beginnings, only to meet. There's just meat's not spelled how you think it is. There's a lot of puns going on here. So meet a cow, tail. Okay, yep, tail. Oh no, tail. They missed that opportunity there. This synopsis makes no sense because I've got all this commentary. This is going to be fun. I can't wait. But Mooby the cow that we first saw in Dogma, I think is the first time we saw. Trying to think. Yeah, it wasn't in Chasing Amy. I think Dogma was the first time we visited the Mooby's restaurant that we would eventually see in almost all of the other ones in some way, shape, or form. So we are going to get an origin story for this Mooby the cow here. So Quick Stop Volume 2, Number 1. Love to see it. Katie?
Okay, so my last pick from the big catalog is the Soul Sender. Volume 1 is coming out in a matter of days on October 10th. And then in this catalog, you can pre-order Alpi the Soul Sender Volume 2, which is going to be released in January. This is a manga published by Titan Comics, and it is about the magical world of Alpi. Divine spirits are the source of all life, and everyone lives under their protection. However, when someone's life ends, a horrible curse drives them to commit evil, and the spirits have to be sent to the afterlife by the soul senders. And Alpi is one of those such soul senders. This caught my eye because the cover art looks absolutely beautiful, and it is $12.34. Check them out. Volume 1 and 2 coming soon.
Cool. And now that was it, you said, for your picks?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so over at Archie Comics, they've been doing all these horror-centric one-shots, and this one I'm not too familiar until I read the synopsis here for Darkling. Darkling, from the outside, Darla Lang looks like a normal college student, save for the peculiar voluminous black cloak she wears everywhere. Her peers and professors chalk this up to Darla's eccentric, introverted, slightly creepy persona. But Darla, a young woman with a secret and a mission. Darla's cloak is actually a mystical artifact that she can use as a melee weapon, trapping her enemies inside the teleporting them away. Darla's power and connection to the supernatural world have always been a curse, and now she's enrolled in Ivy Hollow University, which harbors some dark secrets of its own. Will Darla find when its hallowed halls the answers to the questions about herself and her powers that she's been seeking? Darkling mixes super heroics with dark academia. Yeah, I was waiting to see if it was going to say if this was a character that was deep into the Sabrina old comics or something, but I don't see. This might just be a brand spanking new world to their chilling adventures, horror line that they've been doing. But yeah, and there's a beautiful David Mack cover, which is, they're both pretty great, but then I saw David Mack doing an Archie cover, which maybe he's done in the past, and I don't know, but normally you see his work elsewhere. So I was just like, yep, that one is definitely on my list. So Darkling, that's a one shot. And then to switch up the genres a little bit, still from Archie, we have Josie and the Pussycats, the anniversary spectacular Rock Cats. Josie and the Pussycats are about to put on the concert of a lifetime in space. Then celebrate 60 years of Josie McCoy with some iconic classic stories. So yes, 60 years of Josie and the Pussycats. So that one is definitely on my list. And there's definitely some Christmas digests that are out there in the catalog, so you can get those just in time for your stockings. I think I have issue 1 of this next thing I'm talking about from this publisher, rather. I haven't read it yet, but Distillery is a brand new publishing company that just has an amazing creator lineup that they just did this huge thing announcing everybody. And so they're kind of rolling out all of these kind of debut issues. This one is done from, let's see, I just want to make sure here if here we go. Becky Cloonan and Tula Lotte. This is Samna #1. Both writing and drawing a creator-owned project together for the first time. Set amidst the terrifying backdrop of the witch hunts in a quiet 1600s English village, Samna follows one woman's descent into an erotic escape from the confines of her puritanical world. But yeah, I'm just giving them a shot. I mean, the creators are awesome, but Distillery, so it's one of those things like early Image days where like, well, I guess I'm going to get one of, #1 of every series, just see what they're dealing with here. And I'm kind of in that mood right now for Distillery because they're very much, we talked about one that Jock did in the last catalog, and then they have a Devil's Cut or Devil's something or other. So yeah, it's a brand new company with just an amazing set of creators. So I will probably check out all of their first issues, see what's going on over there. Keen Spot Entertainment. A couple things I want to spotlight. There's something called Christmas with the Grubs, a graphic novel. Now an animated show starring Jerry O'Connell, Will Wheaton, Jodie Sweetin, Jaleel White, Felicia Day, Jason Marsden, and Debbie Derryberry. The year is 1985, and all that Billy Grubbs Watson wants for Christmas is one simple thing: a golf cart. And to have any chance of getting his dream gift, he'll have to do one simple thing: be good. Okay, I guess that's written in there. For town troublemaker Grubbs, that's anything but simple. But with the help of, or perhaps in spite of, his energetic imaginary friend Tyler, he'll try his darndest because he's really wants that golf cart. Grubbs is something that I ordered volume 1 from KeenSpotShop.com when I was scooping up some upcoming Happy Astronaut releases on there and special covers and such. And I heard about this Grubbs announcement, and I love Jodie Sweetin and Felicia Day, and Will Wheaton's in there as well. And there's a lot of great people because they're doing this animated series. It says now an animated show. I think it's just in development. I don't think it's out there yet, but it is in active development. But yeah, Grubbs. So there's a Christmas graphic novel coming out. I'm waiting. I'll probably have this on the list too, but I have volume 1 ordered that I think probably should be coming in October, I think, based on the other stuff that I ordered. And then the other thing is Squish and Squash #1 from Keen Spot. Squish and Squash are 2 young cadets trying to make it into the intergalactic search and rescue squad. In order to become rescuers, they must pass the difficult Save the Gimblemans simulation test. It's not going to be easy, especially with tough Captain Toomey breathing down their necks. Breaking the rules and saving the crew from a burning galactic cruise ship lands our 2 cadets in trouble. The duo are given one last chance to pass the test or to be thrown out of the academy for good. Our adventurous heroes must find new and imaginative ways to earn their patch and become bona fide rescuers. This is a cartoony sci-fi adventure story about friendship and courage, perfect for readers of all ages. That is from Niall O'Rourke and Mike Hartigan. And while this is definitely something that I would pick up just by seeing the covers and reading it, I have an extra incentive to pick this up because friend of the show, Matt Rogers, artist and co-creator of Happy Astronaut, has a variant cover for Squish and Squash. So definitely want to plug that as well. And like I said, it's a book I was naturally going to pick up because it just sounds adorable and looks cool. And that's Squish and Squash. And that is all of my little tabs there. So that is going to do it. There are hundred upon hundreds of pages in this catalog. We possibly can't talk about all of these. We can only talk about a couple of the things that we are getting. So we highly recommend to go to your local comic shop, ask for a previews catalog, fill out your pre-orders, go to your preferred online retailer. Whatever you do, send in those pre-orders to let your comic book stores know that you want these books. That way they are reserved for you. That way they know what to order. The publishers know that there's interest in things, and that gets back to the creators. If you want to support these people that you like, pre-orders is a big key thing. So definitely check it out for yourself beyond our recommendations. All right. I'm looking around me, but that is everything for the show. Trying to see if I had any other things laying about, but that is going to do it for this episode. We have all of the plugs spelled out for you at the end of the show here. So this is the quick version, crimsoncowl.com for information on original webcomics. Crimson Cowl Comic Club on YouTube. Hit like and subscribe and leave a comment over there for the video version, the preferred version, as I like to say. And then we have 3 episodes of a Hellboy spin-off video-only podcast. All of the episodes are recorded. I think there's like 10 or 12 of them all together, where we go through the deluxe library editions there. So we're going to start rolling those out in a timely fashion once I get all the other ones edited. The Crimson Cowl, all one word, on Instagram. Crimson Cowl Comic Club on iTunes. Hit subscribe, rate, and review. At the time of this recording, due to a computer upgrade, we are able to catch up on the iTunes. The browsers weren't working with my old equipment, so I could still do the YouTube on time, but the iTunes was kind of falling behind maybe 2 or 3 weeks of episodes. So yeah, we are slowly going to catch up. That way these can be dropped in a timely manner. So subscribe to that on iTunes. If you are behind, the bonus of the YouTube is that all of the episodes since doing the video version again are going to stay on the channel, whereas iTunes, we only have a certain amount due to our free accounts. So they do, the oldest one gets removed from there. I probably do want to look into ways of uploading all of the classic episodes and put them up on YouTube, and just, I'm not going to do extensive editing where I'm putting up images for everything we're talking about. Simply have our logo and maybe a slideshow of our club related stuff or whatever. But it's a big project, and I know I have all those episodes, so it's something that eventually I want to work on. Crimson Cowl Comic Club at yahoo.com if you want to reach out to us. Kirby has a spin-off podcast, Under the Cowl of MS. Follow that wherever you get your audio podcast, as well as YouTube, Under the Cowl of MS. I have art accounts on Facebook and Instagram. That's Anthony Laatsch, Laatsch. You see that down here, I think, right? I'm pointing to the right side there.
Yes.
Yep. Not that it's down here and it's over here. It's in one of those spots there. Art accounts on Facebook and Instagram to follow my art journey post. Like I said, I've got a bunch of stuff that is ready for hopeful daily new post for art related stuff. And then I am the co-creator and host of Cartoonist by Night on YouTube. Myself, Troy Dungara, Matt Rogers, Matt Fife. We all hang out and draw and talk. We just recently released a random episode of 3 for All, where it's myself and the Matts, and we are talking about leading into Cincinnati Comic-Con, which, as we're recording, Matt and Matt are right there in the thick of Artist Alley, directly in the middle of Artist Alley, first time as comic creators together with their Happy Astronaut #1. The Yahgz guys are just 40 feet away from them. They're all having a fun time. So we talk about the release of Happy Astronaut #1 on that recent Cartoonist by Night. We talk about the prep going into this convention, and once we record again, we'll definitely be hearing their experience from that Comic-Con. And then I talked a little bit about my experience at MightyCon. I didn't dive into too many details because I was saving the longer discussion for something that is halfway in the recording stages with myself and David for being at the Milwaukee MightyCon, and we filmed our part. We had Kirby on for a little spot to talk about what the floor looked like as a customer, and then we have 3 artist friends that have interviews lined up. So we're gonna do one. It's YouTube only. It'll probably be like a 2-hour extravaganza talking about MightyCon and our thoughts, and we just go into it. Is definitely going to be a fun thing once it's all put together. So, all right, I think that is everything we can promote. If you don't know how to find those things, just see it in the scrolling credits, and that's going to be it. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. That's going to do it for another episode of the Crimson Cowl Comic Club. This whole time, I've been the all-knowing Wee Kiwi.
I've been back from the future.
And I'm going to the Cat Cafe with Komi-san.
To be continued.